Now, backing up a little bit, when we're on our feet, just like on the mat, generally speaking, I don't want to try to make my transition from the head-only position to the head and arm when my opponent is pushing into me. I would much rather, in this position, I'm either going to be trying to go for a choke, or I'm going to be jamming them down, continually ratcheting them down to the mat. And I like to be fairly aggressive about that, actually. When one option is to push in and to tug down, the other option, keep your jaw clenched. The other option is, you just keep ratcheting down. Ratchet down one. Don't let them come up higher. Ratchet down again. Ratchet down again. And just boom, 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 boom. And that's a very effective and kind of demoralizing attack for an opponent. But if your opponent is able to pull himself back, and he's powering himself, that's the time I want to try to get the head and arm position. Again, when he's backing up, why? One thing, when he's backing up, it's very hard to back up and to be keeping your head up. There's a tendency when I back up for my head to come down. Whereas when somebody's walking into you, it's a little bit easier for them to keep their head up. So it's more difficult to get the head and arm. Your opponent is typically in a more favorable position to get that head and arm when they're backing up relative to coming into you. So typically, if my opponent is coming into me, I'm going to be trying to direct their weight down, either a push and a smooth shove down at an angle, diagonally, or bam, 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 a ratcheting kind of motion down. Each time I pull down, not giving them a chance to get back up again, it's just forever continuing downward until we get to the mat. So, I'm in this position. For me to get the head and arm, I'm going to be tugging Colby down, and if I get him down to the mat, fantastic, then I'll work the head and arm from there, or spin, whatever. Or, if he's pulling back, and I'm really pulling, and I can't get him down, that's when I'm going to transition. That's when I'm going to transition. And then from there, I'm going to tug him down to the mat. Boom, down to the mat. So I have Colby here in a 2-on-1, of course high. I'm going to be typically sagging. My head is in good position here. You know, if his head is down, one option, as we talked about, is just to shuck down, either in a straight line from the shoulder to the wrist. The other option, of course, from here, which we discussed earlier, is to come up and then down. Both are fine. That's one. Those are a couple options if his head is down. Another option from here is to come to the head and arm. And what I'm going to do is, and this works most typically, I think, and best, if I'm sagging down, and my opponent doesn't want to be down, he wants to be coming up, so he's going to be fighting his way back up. But I'm sagging down, and I want you to notice how I swing on this arm here. It's like a rope, and I'm just going to swing around it, keeping my elbow in here, in this position here. Then I'm going to get the front headlock here, or the head and arm here. I can grip here, either way. So from the 2-on-1 position here, I'm sagging down. Colby's is trying to come up. Or, alternatively, say I attack a single here. From this position, he pulls back. I retransition to the 2-on-1 and come around. And I pull down. Now, again, always spin away from the arm. Always spin away from the arm. From your feet now, from the head and arm position, there's a nice choke or a nice finish in here. It's not as secure with this grip, but more with this grip, more so-called gable grip here. From here. Not with the thumbs. Right here. Keeping the sharp part of my forearm in through Colby's neck here. So I'm in this position. I'm going to grab. Notice I step in. Notice what I'm doing with my hips. This tightens it up. This finishes. Circle kind of comes up this way and goes this way. This way with my hips. This way with my grip or my forearm. So I'm in here. I'm going to grab here and come up to here, this position here. You can lift somebody off their feet from that position if you do that violently. This is something you need to be kind of careful of when you're practicing with your partner. But grabbing. Notice it's crucial that I keep my elbows in, because if I keep my elbow out, boom, I get beat in this position. So as I'm coming through here, and you'll notice when I'm in here, my elbows are always chintzy. I'm always keeping them in tight. Same deal here. From this position, they're in tight. Notice the position I have. I'm not so much here now. This position, I'm just going to push them up. You can throw from here, which we demonstrated in an earlier DVD, by stepping and just throwing the person from that position. I'm not going to go over that right now because we've done that already. But it's from that same position, so you can have a throw from that position, or you can finish with the choke. A position to become aware of with the head and arm when you're on your feet, particularly if a guy is pulling away from you, is from this side. Now, as I'm trying to pull down, and I might be unsuccessful, he's being very powerful in terms of powering up, say, particularly if he's stronger or bigger than I am. Okay? Otherwise, pretty much tugging your opponent down to the mat's the way to go. It's efficient. It's not pretty, but it works, and it works very efficiently. If I'm in this position, hanging down, and Colby is pulling up, especially if I feel he's going to beat me, one option I have is to attack a single leg. Now, I can tug down hard and let Colby out, and I can attack a double or a single. Okay, we're not going to deal with that right now. That will be an option, though. If he's really pulling up so hard, and immediately as he pulls up, I attack, those would be options. However, one thing I do want to point out here is, from this position, as I'm tugging down and he's pulling up, I can throw, notice as he's coming up, he pulls me closer to his leg. And as he does that, I'm going to put this arm through, and this shoulder comes this way here, and then I'm going to switch it around. You'll notice, from this position here, I'm not like letting go and then trying an attack. I'm keeping my weight on Colby as I'm making this transition. So I'm tugging, and I'm coming to this position, and as I tug here, come around, Colby, I still have his chin here, and I have weight on him here. He's still trying to come up. Then as he comes up, I'm just going to transition to a head inside single, a high head inside single. So I'm in here, I'm tugging, Colby is powering up. As he does, I'm going to come to this position here. Notice I have his chin. Notice I have weight on his shoulder, because I'm still making it difficult for him to come up. I'm not going to let him come up easily. From here now, as he comes up, I transition. It's a single leg, high single. I think that's a viable option from that head and arm position. And that's something that I like doing when my opponent is lifting up. Not when he's pushing into me, but when he's lifting up. And again, if he's able to power up, he's got a lot of weight on these legs, so they aren't going to be quite as mobile coming back. Also, too, as he pulls up, he's going to have a tendency to be pulling me in closer. Naturally, the closer I can get, the more successful I'll likely be if I try to attack his leg. Some finishes or some other finishes from the feet. If I'm in this position here, here, or here, I can throw my partner down to the mat to get on top. How am I going to do that? I'm going to step in. And as I step in, I'm, again, pushing his head down. There's a tendency when I do that for his hips to come up, which is going to get him sort of loaded up or prepared for when I do throw him. I want to put my foot close to his foot, right to the outside. And I want to load the weight up so that his weight is on the leg of the side that I'm attacking and throwing. So from here, I'm going to step to this position right here. Notice he's pretty kind of wound up in this position. From this position, I tighten him up, and I'm going to throw with my hips. Pop. So I'm in here, I'm pushing down, and especially too, like if he starts to power up, I can step in quickly here. From here, this position here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to arch I'm going to pop him with my abdomen here, like this position here. Then I'm going to hip bust. I want you to get this main portion and when you practice this, even before you think about throwing it. Colby is in this position here. I'm grabbing here. I prefer to get this grip actually when I'm going to throw this type of a technique here. But from here, when I step in, I want to step, notice, I step and I want to load the weight up on this side. I wouldn't want to load the weight up by stepping more towards this leg here. I want to step towards this leg and load the weight up. I want you to get this notion here. You should just be able to kind of like almost bring him up on his toes here. Just bring him up on his toes. That type of a feeling. Now, a lot of times in this position here, if my opponent, is really pushing into me, that shouldn't make any difference, because the harder he pushes into me, the more I crank him up from here. Okay, the more I crank him up, the more he's going to fly. Just do it once more. I'm in here. I'm going to step. Now watch. I step and I push my hips in. I'm here and I immediately hip heist. It's head pressure. I'm pulling up, pushing my hips in. By pushing my hips in, it pushes Colby's head down. Notice not just down, but slightly to the side, and I'm putting all his weight on this one foot. It's all loaded up here, and then I'm going to throw it. And when I throw it, it's with the hips. And I want you to notice, too, as I did that, I looked where I was going. As I pop, I'm looking in that direction.